final run, I just do it, and I'm just like, okay, we're just gonna one more try. If I die early on, I'm done. If I die later on, I'm also done. Uh, and yeah, I get it. And it took 14 hours and 32 minutes.
Hello, Wildlanders. SK here. I am joined with this master at challenges. His name is Question Marks. How you doing today, Question Marks?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
As you and I both know, I'm doing okay because the recording crashed. So a good chunk of this we already talked about, but we're going to go through anyways. Do you have any handles? Obviously, you've got your Twitch chat, you've got your YouTube that you mentioned, and your Discord. Is there anything else?
No, you can just find me with question marks. Just look up question marks on really any social, and you'll probably find me.
Okay. Those will be in the description below for anyone who is interested. I highly recommend checking it out. Now, just a quick, a little bit about you. So you're 16 years old, and you primarily stream on Twitch, and you've been doing a number of Elden Ring challenges. One of which is that you sent me was you beat Elden Beast at doing 1 damage at a time by rolling into him. Now, as you alluded to,
I beat Elden Ring. I would say I beat Elden because it's the bosses, but that was definitely like the climax. But I would say the game itself, yeah.
Okay, so here's a question that we actually didn't already talk about. Have you would you consider beating Malenia 1 damage at a time?
Would I try to kill Malenia 1 damage? A couple people have asked me this, and it was. I feel like most people that ask me is more like a joke question because it's just so ridiculous. The health bar is already pretty high. It's like 30k, I think. And then obviously I get hit once, and that's what, like an hour and a half of progress, probably more actually, probably like 2 hours progress gone. I mean, if the 1 damage challenge video does really good once it's done being edited and posted, then maybe.
Okay. And I'm gonna jump into them here in a second. But since we hadn't talked about Malenia, it was on my list, so I thought I'd ask. I would love a Malenia run for 2 reasons. One, because obviously it's Malenia. She's gonna be just insane. But 2, I think at this point you've kind of mastered Elden Ring, right? So you've beaten Elden Beast, you've beaten Margit, obviously, you've beaten Fire Giant, which was a 14-hour commitment of just rolling into him. I feel like the next step is something that's actually going to be a challenge, not just how long does it take till you're done kind of thing.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts. Obviously, you mentioned your thoughts. You're kind of waiting to see, which is fair. I can barely beat Malenia with weapons, so I don't know that I get to complain too much.
I feel like if I tried enough, if I really wanted to, I could maybe do it, but it would be absolutely terrible. Like, I could not get hit once. I actually would not be able to get hit once, or it would pretty much be a dead run by then. So I would have to. Yeah, I would just have to completely, I don't even know, not get hit the entire fight.
I guarantee your viewers would be a master at dodging the waterfowl after you beat her. So backtracking for a moment, I don't know if I already mentioned this, but you're 16 years old, and this is your first FromSoft game, right?
Yes, it is.
Again, obviously you already told me that previously,
Yeah.
but that's just insane.
Yeah, I feel like everybody that I tell that, like after they see my challenges, they're like, "We've got to be joking, right? Like, there's no way this is your first game. That's kind of crazy."
So, do you have any plans or thoughts about going back to maybe Dark Souls 3 or Dark Souls 1 and trying out, doing some challenges there, or do you think you're kind of gonna stick with Elden Ring?
Actually, funny you ask. Currently, I'm working on my first playthrough, by the way, of DS3. I'm doing a challenge that no one's done because they've said it's too hard. I'm doing RL1 bare fist, so I'm doing like 3 damage a punch, and pretty much 1 tap to everything on my first ever playthrough. I don't even know the bosses. I'm currently on Abyss Watchers. I did like 1 attempt of it, and I took a little bit of a break for 1 damage, so that's what I've been doing. So I think that's pretty crazy, but you know.
Yeah, so for reference, I beat the Abyss Watchers, and it took me about a month. Like, not a month of every day doing it, right? But, like, over the course of, like, a month. And it got to the point where it's like, if I don't beat them, I'm gonna quit. And this was just playing the game. Like, I wasn't doing any special challenge. I was like, if I cannot beat them, I'm tired of being stuck here. And I did beat them. To the idea of going in and doing 5 damage to try and beat them is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, I'm mostly stuck on phase 2 because like I just don't understand the fire dodges because I'm gonna have to fight them for like an hour or something, and you're like, it feels like, at least with Elden Ring bosses, I feel like with that type of like AoE attack, you're supposed to like dodge into it, but if I dodge into it, I still get hit by it. So I just have to learn the boss, and I should be able to get it, hopefully.
Yeah, I think for me with phase 2, it was just everything. It was the AoE, like you said. I think I realized if you dodge into him and to the side, so like kind of at an angle, sometimes you're able to get out of it, but I lacked the skill. And no, that's if you do that and stream that, I'll definitely have to watch it because I have a lot to learn. They took me way too long. So you started off doing these challenges because you saw other people doing them. How did you get the idea to kind of take it a step further and do something that, again, I don't think anyone else has ever done, which is literally just a 1 damage run?
So it all started with a bare fist run, which no one had done at the time of that. And what I did was pretty much, I saw a bunch of people who were doing runs, but I just felt like, I don't know, I don't want to be like, oh, they're too easy, but I don't know, I saw challenges like, can I beat the game with a bow and arrow? And that kind of like, I was like, I mean, I would think you can beat the game with a bow and arrow. It's supposed to be something you can use. So those type of challenges just didn't make sense to me. And then a bunch of people were making videos about like, mainly Scumnut, which I don't know if you know him or not, but he made a video saying he was gonna try the bare fist challenge, and then like a week later made a video saying he's quitting it. So when I saw that, I was like, well, maybe I should try it, right? Like, and again, I was not very good at the game at that point. Like, I was just like on my first playthrough, I'm pretty sure I skipped the fire giant. I'm being dead serious. I skipped the fire giant on my first playthrough with weapons, obviously.
Wait, you can skip the fire giant?
Yeah, well, you could anyways. Well, actually, I think you still can. It's because you can use a wrong warp to just go straight to Farmazula. People use it in 8%, I'm pretty sure. Maybe there might be a faster way now with zipping, but you can just skip past. You can go there like from the start of the game. You can skip literally every boss straight to Farmazula. It's pretty crazy.
That's insane. Like, I feel like even just like basic things that I feel like generally the Elden Ring community maybe understands, you explain them and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And it kind of makes sense, but sorry for interrupting. Go ahead and continue.
So yeah, I was terrible at the game. I had my first ever like Elden Beast fight / Radagon. I did it co-op with like 3 other people or 2 other people, I don't know. And I needed all of that just to kill him, and I'm pretty sure they used like Comet Azure or something. So yeah, I was not good at the game at all. So the bare fist run really pushed me because I had to actually like learn every single boss's moves because I didn't know them. Like, the one thing I know about Elden Ring, which isn't really a flaw but more of a thing with like people that play it, is you can play the entire game without learning a single moveset, just swinging your sword and hoping you know, outlive the attacks, right? So I think that's the one thing, is I feel like it should encourage learning the bosses more than just, you know, getting the best sword and just going ham. Not saying that's a bad play style, but it's just, I feel like it's more like fun to learn the bosses and be able to, you know, do it without getting hit once, or, you know, only once or twice.
No, certainly. I mean, like, you kind of have to master the bosses in the way that you do it, which is like to literally avoid being hit for the most part anyways, because you have to learn all their different move sets, how they sort of handle different situations, what are their tells, which is a big thing for Elden Ring, well, for FromSoft games in general. It's just, okay, I know they're gonna swing at me because they looked at me funny or whatever.
Yeah.
So now to talk a little bit more about the fire giant, because the fact that it's 14 hours long still has me shocked. So you had 4 attempts
I can
4
talk
attempts
about
on
them.
him.
I can talk about them. So, okay, pretty much on my first attempt, this was a while ago. This is not like the attempts that I've done recently, or, well, I won, but you know what I mean. And I got like 3 or 4 hours in, probably like 20% down, so like 80% left, and I died. And I thought I got so far. Oh my god, dude. It is so far, like the 3 hours to like 14. I don't think I could have done it at that point. I don't think I was good enough at the game at that point. So I'm glad that I did other challenges to get me back to where I was. So about a month ago, I did my second run, 11 hours in. I was running away from fire breath and right off the edge because I didn't know it was a cliff, and I just died. Insta death. Next attempt, got 9 hours in, which, by the way, around 5.5 to 6 hours is where you get phase 2. And so I was in phase 2, not too far, not as far as I got before, and my game just crashed. So that sucks. And my next run, I was like, dude, this is my final run. I'm not going to do this again. So thankfully I got it. And like you said, it took 14 hours and 32 minutes. So crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, 14 hours, just in case anyone missed that. 14 entire hours. Now, you did mention you are able to pause the game and take breaks, right? So was this, you sat there and played for 14 hours straight, or was this over a couple days, or how did you end up doing the final run where you were successful?
This is more like, on the previous runs before that, I did like 4 hours at a time, but this one, I was just like, this is so ridiculous that honestly, I think I deserved my breaks. So I did like every hour and a half to 2 hours, I'll take an hour break and then do it for that day. And then obviously once I'm like tired, I'll go to sleep and go to the next day. So it probably took like 3 days, I would say, of grinding to get it.
And how did you actually pause the game? Is it like some mod you downloaded, or?
So no, I feel like using mods would be cheating. There actually is a pause button in Elden Ring, or it's not supposed to be a pause button, but it works as one. If you go to like your equipment and you press the tips button, the very last one on the bottom, there's like 3 buttons, the very last one on the bottom, press that and your game just pauses. Because it's supposed to like teach you how to play the game, and it doesn't obviously want you dying while it's having like a tip open for you. So it works like that. So I didn't have to use a glitch or a mod or anything to get it to pause the game, thankfully.
Oh, that's genius. That makes sense. Did you like look that up because you're like, oh, this is gonna take forever, I want to take breaks, or did you just kind of learn that at some point?
I think I saw like a TikTok about it, funnily enough, like when I was doing my bare fist run, probably like at like Godric or something, on my very first bare fist run, like 9-10 months ago, probably longer now, I don't even remember, it's been a while. And yeah, I saw that and I was like, great, I can pause the game. Wish I would have known that when I was fighting Margit, but hey.
Okay, no, I feel like with TikTok, at least for me, I don't use TikTok a lot, but my wife does, and similar to you, she's like, oh, I learned this new thing, and I had some friends who watched Elden Ring, and they're like, oh, I know how to get, like, if you remember from the fire giant, you used to be able to get, like, I think what are those massive Lord runes? You used to be able to get Lord runes infinitely from the fire giant, just by like, really? Yeah, I think you just had to be summoned to help fight him, and you guaranteed a Lord's rune. So people would just farm that, and then they'd be like level 300 before they even get to farm Azula or whatever. So,
wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Same thing with the fire giant falling off the cliff and instantly killing himself. That was a good one.
Oh, I didn't even know about that one. That's how you one damage him.
Really quick. That was like the first week, and they had that patch because everybody was doing it. If you had him on this one cliff that like is still in the arena, it doesn't work anymore. If you just had him like walk off of it, it's so funny because he's like a big man. It's like 2 millimeters. He falls off and just instantly just dies. Like phase 1 to just death. It's crazy.
That is, I think, by definition, the community getting good. Okay, you know, they're just too good. So obviously before you started Elden Ring, you had no experience in the FromSoft world, and now you're kind of just dominating bosses. My next question for you is, like, what are some tips slash training, like prep, that you recommend for people who are just trying to be good at the game, not necessarily good at the challenges? Starting off with the game, and then we'll do challenges after.
The challenges one, obviously, I'm gonna get into the other thing first, but the challenges one is a little bit more deeper, which we'll go into in a second. But for just beating the game, if you're having trouble with a boss, honestly, this isn't like me being like I don't know. Some people say it's like cocky, but I'm like, what I would do, honestly, if I was like someone that's not really good at the bosses, I would like watch one of my like clips, honestly. I don't like, not even to be weird or anything, but like, it's because I know how to dodge the bosses, and you can just watch it for like, I don't know, like 5 minutes or something. You'll understand everything you really need to, you know. Or you can just learn the bosses yourself. Either one, yeah, I would do that over just like trying to hit the boss until he dies, right? I would actually try to learn the boss if you're having a lot of trouble with him. But obviously, if you're able to just hit the boss till he dies, then amazing. But if you're having trouble with the boss, like Godfrey or Horaloo, like Horaloo is super easy once you learn how to fight him from like behind him, because I mean, you go behind him and he literally cannot attack you. He just sits there and starts hitting like random sides that you're not even on. You can get easy hits in. Because without doing that, Horaloo is actually quite difficult. Obviously, trying to fight him up front is, I don't think, the intended way.
So, let's say that I'm a new viewer, I'm somewhat familiar with Elden Ring, but I'm having a hard time, and I go and I watch your content. What am I watching for? Because for you, it's probably instinctual at this point. For me, and I'm just trying to learn a boss, am I just watching when you roll, or is there something more in depth that I would be looking for?
Well, with one damage, I guess it'll be more of just the rolls. But if if we're talking about bare fist, you can just use that. But imagine I have a weapon in my hand, but it's just doing no damage, and do that with your weapon, so you're actually doing damage. So pretty much, do the rolls I do and get the punishes where I get them. Like the fights, I try to maximize damage as much as I can. There's really no point in trying to get like extra greedy hits when you have an actual weapon. So just do what I'm doing, but with a weapon, and I mean, he'll be dead in like a minute and a half, You don't really need to worry about it, like, at all.
Okay, no, that makes sense. The last question I have before we shift to like the more advanced, sort of deeper conversation of like doing these challenges is, how did you, start off learning the boss yourself? So, because if you remember, you mentioned that was something you did, is you actually took the time to learn them. I know for some people that I've seen is they say, don't try and hit the boss at all, just dodge every move and do that a couple times till you learn it. Was that the way you did it, or did you do something else?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good way. What I think I would recommend, because you obviously want to know when you're doing hits, right? If you're playing the game with a weapon, I would say just get rid of the weapon if you're trying to learn the boss and get the bare fist.
Yeah, if you're gonna fight them barehanded, it'll definitely make fighting them with the weapon feel much easier. So I could definitely get behind that.
But I wouldn't say like, unless you want to do bare fist run, but I would say more just to get the idea of where to get hits in, is what I'm saying. So like, fight him for like 5 minutes with bare fist, and then, let him kill you, come back with a weapon. I mean, if you're able to do it with bare fist, just do it with the weapon, you'll kill him pretty quickly.
Okay, no, that makes sense. I think then let's shift to the challenge portion. Obviously, you do these challenges. What are some advice, tips, thoughts that you have for people who might be interested in exploring that?
Obviously, it depends on the challenge, right? There's RL1, which is kind of like a community standard. Like, not saying everyone's done RL1, but a good amount of people. It's like the challenge you should really do first, right? Obviously, I didn't take that advice, but
And what is RL1?
What?
And what is RL1 for people who may not be familiar?
Right. So that's just being level 1, not leveling up. Obviously, you have to start as the wrench character, and if you don't know what wrench is, just the one with no clothing on. So for an RL1 run, really, it would just be kind of the same, just not getting hit. So I would say just learn the bosses, just as I just told you, really. With bare fist is fine. if you're on PC, I would say get cheat engine and make it so you can't die and just dodge the boss for like 30 minutes to an hour. Obviously, that's pretty extreme, but I had to do that with Malakath so I could do my bare fist run, and I was able to get Malakath on my second try because of it. First try, died instantly in second phase. I went and used cheat engine, and obviously I made it so I couldn't die, so you hit me as many times as you want. I just practiced the boss for like 2 hours straight, just practicing, just dodging and getting hits in. And yeah, that got me where I needed to be. I was able to kill him first try after that because I learned everything and I just did exactly what I did, except obviously I wasn't, I could die. So
Okay, so if I ever go crazy and I think I want to try that, I'll start off with doing a bare fist a little bit more. Obviously, yeah. In a way, you made your own challenge. Because again, I don't know that I've ever seen, and I watch a decent amount of Elden Ring content because I'm a pretty big fan of it, even though I'm not very good at it. Yeah. And I don't think I've ever seen someone beat bosses one hit at a time, or sorry, one damage at a time.
Yeah.
So.
No.
If I wanted to make my own challenge, right, which is kind of what you did, what are some tips that you have for building a challenge that is realistic, that I might be able to handle, but also would make for fun, fun gameplay?
If you want to make a challenge harder, I would say take a challenge that already exists and then just up it up to 11. Like, I'm also planning on working on a bare fist run, except I can only use one fist because technically it would be a bare fists run. It's kind of more of a joke, but I'm going to do it for fun. So I'm going to be doing like, I don't know, like 4 damage, like a full hard punch instead of like 16. But still won't be harder than 1 damage. So it can't get much worse than that. So I would say just up a challenge that you've already seen to 11, if that's what you want to do. If you want to come up with a whole different challenge, I would say maybe go to the wiki and just look at a bunch of like stuff that you haven't seen people use or that's dumb or whatever, and just try to beat the game with it, stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, kind of like you mentioned before, beating X boss or the whole, every boss bow only, right? Like just something that appeals to A, what your play style you prefer, and then B, what you think you might be able to handle that might still be a challenge. So that makes sense.
Right.
Before we shift topics, was there anything else you wanted to say about, challenges and kind of tips and tricks for that, or do you think you covered most of the bases?
I would say one more thing. So for really anybody that's trying to do a hard challenge or a challenge that's hard for you anyways, I would say the most important thing is determination. Like, I don't want to be like up here like some like inspirational speaker, but really, if you don't have determination in a run, like it doesn't matter your skill level or whatever, you're still gonna eventually, give up, fail, whatever. If I gave up on any of those fire giant runs, I would have never finished the 1 damage challenge because I wouldn't have kept going with it, right? So determination, just keep going. Obviously, if it gets like completely unhealthy, that's a whole different thing, right? But as long as it's not too insane, right? Like the 0.1 damage challenge that my fans said I should do. Very funnily of them.
Wait, you said 0.1 damage?
Yeah, they were like, I should do a 0.1 damage challenge. So,
oh my gosh. That's hilarious, but mean at the same time.
But they were saying it more in a joking way. One of my viewers are actually making a mod for it so I could do 0.1 damage because you can't actually do that in the base game. And I told them if they make it, I'll like kill Margit. It'll probably take like 20 hours or something, but I'm just gonna kill Margit with it just because why not? And that's where I'm gonna end that challenge. It's not gonna go past Margit.
So what? Obviously, you've kind of, we'll say, doing it 1 damage at a time, and maybe 0.1, for the fun of it against Margit. You've kind of mastered the game in a way. What's next?
What's next?
Good
question. Well, currently I'm working on Bare Fist RL1, which Bare Fist compared to 1 damage, you do like 8 damage instead of 1, since it's RL1. But think about it this way. In RL1, pretty much any boss past like, I don't know, like Renala, I'm going to get 1 hit, and those bosses are going to last at least 2 to 4 hours, 4 being the most, without getting hit a single time. so that's gonna be pretty difficult, but I think I can do it. Enough practice.
Okay, and I think you mentioned previously that you were looking into doing like NG plus 7, right? And doing some stuff
New
there.
Game plus 7 Bear Fist. Yes.
Okay. Did you have any thoughts or plans for maybe doing like a full playthrough? Doing like a really difficult or weird playstyle, either randomizing the bosses, which is, you know, I've seen some videos on, or just playing in a unique way, or are you kind of just past that at this point because you can kind of just steamroll bosses?
I'm probably gonna do a randomizer Bear Fist run, probably. I was looking at it. So I'll probably do that, but obviously if I get anything like Ride Card or something, it's just gonna be instant game over, so I'm just gonna have to, I don't know, pray I don't get Ride Card. Other than that, I should be fine.
Ride Card or Malenia, those two I feel like would be a really hard early game boss to fight. Or, and you actually did skip them, or the Godskin duo.
Which, 1 damage or Bear Fist?
Randomizer early on. I feel like they would be a pretty big challenge early on to like go through, even if you're just like playing.
Yeah, that is true. But I did do Godskin Duo and Gideon Bear Fist.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because it was only, well, I did Godskin Duo like 2 months ago, but I did Gideon like last week. So, and that was the worst. That was the worst. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, Gideon is just a monster. I beat him the first time I beat him was like, I didn't even realize he was a hard boss because I think I interrupted his dialogue and just killed him.
Right.
So this next, I read that, I was like, oh, okay, maybe he'll be a somewhat hard boss, right? Okay. And so I let him talk, and it took me several hours to actually beat him after that. I think I actually threw a sleep pot at him, and then
it does actually do something. He just kind of like goes, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like it passes out for a second, then gets right back up. So it doesn't really do anything, but it kind of does something.
Well, I think I threw a Scarlet Rot pot first, and then I put him to sleep, and then I just kind of repeated that a couple times. Like, I did some damage, but
that actually is the no-hit strat, because if you go on the left side, it doesn't wake him up, so you can just throw the pots at him before he even, like, because if you don't get too close to him, he won't start dialogue. You can just throw pots at him and just kill him without him even like starting dialogue. It's pretty stupid. It's pretty funny though.
Dude, the stuff that the Elden Ring, that the FromSoft community is able to find is just insane to me.
Kind of sucks that I can't use any of those tricks on my runs, but...
Did you end up beating Malenia with Bear Fist?
No, not yet.
Okay,
but
okay.
That's more because I haven't really tried it, more than like I got fails on it. I don't even think I've tried it once, honestly. More because it's just so dumb. So...
Especially, I mean, now that she's working, it's great. But there were like several patches where she just wasn't working properly, and so even if she missed hitting you, she'd regen.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. That's pretty. It's pretty nutty.
Yeah. It. I mean, I didn't have that experience, and my first playthrough, which I did beat her in, was a faith-based playthrough, and so I would just breathe Scarlet Rot on every boss and run away while they died. Pro play, I know. And so that's how I beat Malenia, as I just dodged, ran away as she's like ticking down her health. So outside of, obviously you said you're working on some you have kind of been working on some Dark Souls 3 gameplay, which you're already destroying. You've been playing Elden Ring, which obviously you're destroying. Are there any other games/genres you're kind of looking to bridge out into, or for now is this kind of your primary focus?
Like, I know I used to do like other dumb challenges on games that, but it was kind of like this though in the community where like I was like looked at as like it's really stupid or not, you know, not worth your time. I don't know if I would ever bring it to this audience. I know there's still a couple things I want to do on this one game and kind of finish, just kind of more for myself than like views or anything. So I'll probably do that, but I don't think I'm gonna do like anything else really with the channel, besides maybe like more, you know, Souls games and obviously DLC and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, no, that was actually what I was gonna mention next is, so you've
Yeah.
mastered the bosses that are currently in the game. We'll say we'll include Malenia in that, even though you haven't done some of the challenges. I imagine a lot of it transfers over, just minus
Yeah.
she heals. What would you want from DLC bosses to kind of bring back some of that freshness, that some of that challenge that may not be there for you at this point?
I want very cool. I want very cool move sets. Obviously, I want something that's going to take a while to learn, but I don't want something like waterfowl. I want something to be difficult because it's difficult to learn, not just difficult even if you do learn it, right? I think it needs to be something that's learnable yet still difficult at the same time. Like an attack that's still avoidable at pretty much any place that you are when you're fighting them, but it takes a lot of practice to learn. And mainly, I don't want super big health bars. I really don't. I want it to be more focused, like a Malakath, where like you do crazy damage, or the boss does crazy damage that has a somewhat lower health bar than other bosses. I feel like I'd rather that over like a boss that, you know, has like 3 attacks and has like 200k health.
14 hours later.
Don't ask me why I went low health bars. Definitely not because I'm planning on doing 1 damage for DLC too.
You know, with the DLC, I really hope. What's the sleeping god's name?
Sleeping gods. What do you mean?
There's a sleeping god that rides the horse that had the horse, at least conspiracy-wise, had the horse that we ride. Forgetting their name. They were like taken by Moog, the Lord of Blood.
Oh, Mikola.
Mikola, yes. I really want to see Mikola in it, and I've seen a couple thoughts on, like, one, you'd be working with Mikola, and then the other one is you have to go kill Mikola. Would you rather work with Mikola to fight, like, this new unknown threat, or do you think Mikola being the end of the rainbow, so to speak, that you have to go beat would be more interesting?
Honestly, I think I would like Mikola as a boss, but if they do not do that, I hope that it's optional to have Mikola fight with you, and it's not like a mandatory thing, because that would kind of ruin a lot of challenge runs for DLC.
No, I agree. I think I like the idea of having someone fight with me, but I think him just kind of being a guy who is like important and changes but tells you to go do things, or like you said, being a boss to fight. I think if we weren't able to fight Mikola, it would be sort of a lost opportunity, because at least for me, and I guarantee a good chunk of the community wants to be able to say, oh, I beat Mikola, even if, you know, it means that we don't get this new unknown threat.
Right. I mean, Mikola doesn't even have to be the final boss, you know, it could just be like a near final boss.
Yeah, or like an optional boss, or like a secret boss or something.
Yeah. Or what I think they're going to do is make it like an optional summon, honestly, for every single boss, or the bosses where it makes sense in the story, I think is what they're going to do.
Oh.
I feel like that makes the most sense to make it an optional summon.
That does sound like a FromSoft move. So, like, I know that you're not super familiar with Dark Souls, but Dark Souls 3 and Dark Souls 1 had a similar thing where, like, you'll go befriend person because, you know, you've sort of worked up through their story. You can actually summon them to come fight with you. And there's, like, for those games, there were a couple NPCs where you could spawn them specifically for specific fights. Which...
Right, kind of like the... I can't even think of his name right now. Alexander in the Fire Giant.
Yes. Yes.
You have to do the storyline to get to that point.
Which is so rewarding because if you didn't, you know, do their storyline, you don't even know, and then you... But if you did do their storyline, you're like, oh, that's really cool. I didn't even, you know, so... Yeah. I like that. I think that's a great way to do Mikola. Exactly. So... The last question I have for you... Oh, sorry. Do you have something to say?
No.
The last question I have for you is, so looking at your YouTube channel, I think you have 2 YouTube videos currently, right?
Yes, there was another one, but I took it down because it... Well, I didn't take it down, but I made it where you can only get it with the link, which is in the Discord if you want to watch the video, but it's just because the editing wasn't as good as the newer ones, and I didn't want it to be like a definition for the channel.
Okay. Okay. No, that makes
And that was the
sense.
5 damage run, by the way. That was the 5 damage run.
5 damage run. Okay. Do you plan on converting some of your challenges into videos? At
Oh yeah.
least this is something that was explained to me. I don't know that it's like 100% true or not because I don't do a lot with Twitch, but from my understanding, the way you would grow your audience is typically from YouTube, TikTok, essentially everything that's not Twitch, and Twitch is just kind of maintaining that audience. So like for you
Yeah.
to be able to grow, at least again from what I was told, is doing the other stuff. So circling back, is that something you think you would be doing down the line, or you're kind of focused on Twitch?
No, I'm more focused on YouTube than Twitch, honestly. But the reason is, the videos take so long to make, and I think that's the biggest issue that I'm having right now. Because if you really like look at it, right, like, 1 damage challenge, I have over like 200 hours of footage, and I just finished it. Like I need a little bit of a break before I start editing and stuff, and I might end up, paying an editor to do it. So I'm like iffy on what I'm doing exactly. So I need to figure that out before I go and do it myself, or if I get somebody else to do it. Because I want this to be a video that's a high standard to the channel. And then obviously I want to do the bare fist video, which I probably want to do before the 1 damage because it makes sense to put that video out first. Yeah, I have a lot of stuff to work on. It's just the editing is pretty gruesome and takes a lot. So if I was able to get videos out quickly, that'd be amazing. And obviously I could post full like fights, which you can already watch the full fights for proof and stuff on the Twitch channel because they're all highlighted. But I don't think it'd be worth like posting the full fights. Not only that, but funnily enough, the Fire Giant fight is actually longer than what YouTube allows at 12 hours. So
Oh, that's hilarious.
yeah.
I also don't think YouTube. Well, I mean, you kind of confirmed it. I didn't know that, but I was gonna say I don't think YouTube is really meant for the longer style videos, anyways. Typically, if you're gonna have a long video, which I think is like 45 minutes to an hour, usually is like a long video, you're gonna lose almost everybody after the first, 5-15 minutes, somewhere in there.
Right.
So it's not worth as much. So I see what you're saying.
Right.
In terms of getting an editor, well, first, if you are an editor and you're looking for some work, he may or may not be, looking for something. So that's something to reach out to in the Discord below. Also, just to shoot my own shot, I would definitely be interested in doing some work edit-wise if that's something you end up deciding. So you can definitely reach out to me.
Right.
That was my last question. Was there anything that you wanted to talk through? Some thoughts you had, questions, etc.?
I guess, I don't know. What I would say is probably just, I'm just going to keep doing these challenges regardless of really anything, and I guess they're just going to keep getting harder and harder, and I'll probably just, I don't know, keep going until, I don't know, I run out of challenge ideas, or I have to wait for like the next FromSoft game or something. So yeah, I'll be streaming on Twitch pretty much every day.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you jumping on and doing this with me. Once again, the stuff you do is just insane. You're a monster at Elden Ring. Seeing you beat certain bosses like 1 damage at a time that I struggle to beat normally is just hilarious. And I wish you the best of luck on your end. And I appreciate you jumping on.
Yeah, thank you.
Sweet. You have a great day. Stay safe, Wildlanders.